Hello everybody, my name is Nick Belgrave, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the hidden worldviews of nationalism. And we're going to be talking about what nationalism is as a worldview, some of the positive aspects, and then some of the problems that we may face. Now to start off, I want to define the difference between patriotism and nationalism. Because at the root of nationalism, there is patriotism. So patriotism is the love for your country, the support for your country, and we believe that that is a good thing. It is good to love your country, love your nation where you come from, and love the traditions of it. Now, on the other hand, nationalism is the extreme of that. It is the extreme idea, the ideology that your nation is above any other nation, that your country is above any other country. And now, at the root of it, nationalism is the belief that God would not be able to fulfill his plan if your country did not exist. That God specifically chose your country, wherever you come from, to fulfill his plan. And now this can be seen specifically in the United States, especially with many of the Christian conservatives. Many people believe that God chose the United States, that without the United States, the rest of the world would not be able to function. However, as Christians, we believe that that is just not the case. That God is above every single nation, every single tribe, every single people group, that he can do whatever he needs to do with whatever he has. That no matter where it is, God's going to fulfill his plan and his purpose that he has for those people. And now, it is important to look at some of the positive aspects that nationalism as a worldview brings. One of the first ones is that it helps people move away from the idea of individualism, or the worldview of individualism. This is because people who have the worldview of nationalism are willing to sacrifice themselves for their country, for their nation. And Jesus talks about this all throughout the Gospels. Jesus says that to follow him, we must deny ourselves, pick up his cross, our cross, and follow him. Jesus wants us to move away from that individual lifestyle. He wants us to follow him with all of our plans, all of his purpose, and his future. That we can't worry about what we have to offer, but we have to listen to what God has and follow what he has for us. And many people fear that. They fear losing what they have. But as believers, we have to move away from the idea of individualism, just like many of the people who have that nationalistic worldview do. Now, another positive aspect is the stability and protection that nations provide. They provide different resources, the government, freedom, especially in the United States. And this can be seen through many different countries throughout the world. However, even with those positive aspects, there are still some very negative, some very big problems that we may face as Christians when talking to people who have that nationalistic perspective. One of the things is that people who tend to be nationalistic can kind of view the other as the enemy. Other nations, other people groups, or other traditions, that they are against what you have, and all they want to do is just destroy what you have. And this can be seen throughout history, specifically with things such as the Crusades. They go to war, go into these different locations, these different nations, in the name of God, claiming that God has provided for them and that they are God's chosen people, and that God called them basically to go start this war and to take from these other nations. And this can ultimately harm the nation as a whole because it tries to push out different perspectives, different traditions that ultimately will help grow the nation, grow people as a whole, and help us learn more about different people. Now, another negative aspect is that it basically breaks all the barriers that Christianity, that Jesus came to every break. It rebuilds them. That Jesus, when he came to the earth, he destroyed all those. He destroyed the nationalist perspectives. Jesus, as he called the disciples to go out into the world, the Great Commission, he said in Matthew 28, verse 19, to go out to all of the nations, all of the people group, all of the tribes throughout the world, and preach the good news. The good news is for all people. And we as believers, we have to reinforce that statement, especially for those who maybe claim to be believers, but still have that nationalistic perspective. We have to help them to see clearly what Jesus has called us to do, which is to love everybody, love our neighbor as ourselves. And so Jesus wants us to go throughout the nations, throughout the entire world, proclaiming his good news, because that is ultimately for all people, not just for one specific people group or one nation.